I first noticed the need for childcare in tea tree when I started employment with Central Desert and just found it hard recruiting women, local women in the community because there was no support for their children. Ultimately, we rely on family, and if we haven't got like the support from family, a lot of the time it's left with our like nanas. The grandmothers are the ones that are looking after the babies while the mothers are trying to, empower themselves and provide for their families. Like I've had young women that have been employed with one like little like baby. They do 5 hours a day, but still they've got no support, and like they end up giving up the work. And while they've been at the work, they've attained licenses, certificates, like just really empowering their lives. But then it all just stops because we haven't got that support. Yeah, so we want that access for our babies. We want them to, be as just as advantaged as the East Coast, or mainstream. We want them not to have that gap in their education. We want them to have that social engagement, that routine to get them ready so when they get to that school stage, they're settled. And we're not dealing with behaviors or anything. They understand what the education's about. Yeah, so like there's one mom I know, her son's special needs. She's ready to relocate because there's just no support. Where these needs could have been identified early if we had a childcare, but they weren't. They were identified later. We have some other mothers that hold a childcare spot in Alice Springs, just so their child can have that 1 day social engagement and have that learning, early learning access. And some families just relocate because it's too hard. You hear all these news stories about women being empowered to go back into the workforce, children with early education. You hear Victoria's side with preschool starting at 3. We don't even have a preschool now in Tea Tree, so it feels like we're still living in restricted education days. Like when is our babies going to be treated the same as the rest of Australia?
I'm really worried for once I do have my baby, not being able to go back to work and not having the support, and it would help having a childcare to build my training and that for when my baby gets older.
So every Monday we would travel 190k both ways, so that Milani could have that day in town. Our eldest, who is 6 years old, she is attending the local primary school here in Tea Tree. It just meant that she would be missing 1 day a week on that Monday to travel into town with us because we couldn't make it back in time before school finished to pick her up again, so we would all just travel into town together. I know, for example, I would have loved to have studied part-time or even got a part-time job. It just wasn't an option for us out here in Tea Tree, but I mean, having this childcare centre would be so beneficial to a lot of families here in Tea Tree.